Hello, how is everybody doing? How's things? How's life? How's the universe? How has your week been? Hello to Tom on Twitch, hello to Sophie if you're still here, and hello to Michael as well. How you guys doing? I just asked a poll on YouTube of how your week was, since I always ask, and well, we may as well have it in a poll. Last week was a pretty good balance between, kind of meh, decent, and well, kind of those two with, a smaller percentage saying that their week was fantastic, so it's kind of to be expected, really. We have 100% meh so far, that's good. That sets the tone nicely for, well, the average British week, I suppose. Oh, but how's everybody? How are you guys doing? How's things? Yeah, we're all good there. Perfect. We're now down to 50% meh, and 50% at least it's Thursday. Nice. Yeah. How is everybody doing? Let me make sure that the tweet went out, and it did. That's good. Let me make sure that we are up on the Discord. We are indeed. Perfect. Hello. I want to upgrade to Windows 11. I have an i7 7700, and they're saying that this i7 7740X is supported, and this and 7700K are almost the same thing. So while they are similar, they what you're talking about is a desktop CPU versus an HEDT CPU, and there's a hell of a lot more of physical stuff in there, which means that there is potentially a greater chance of the specific hardware features that they said they require for good compatibility with Windows 11. That chip actually has those circuits on board, whereas your 7700 has to emulate or sort of brute force that function, which is slower than having dedicated circuits to do that for you. So while yes, I agree it's not great and frustrating that they're alienating what is essentially quite a big part of the existing user base, at the same time there doesn't seem to be significant benefits of moving to Windows 11 just yet, in the same way that there wasn't really a massive need to upgrade to Windows 10 from Windows 8.1 immediately. All of the new features and benefits that the changes indicate, those features take time for developers to implement and really make use of, and so it's going to take a reasonably long amount of time and the number of years for those features to reach a level of maturity and like in use. I've forgotten the word for it, but that's to the point where it actually matters for you to upgrade that. Hello Simon, how you doing? Hello John. Evening Andy. Finally on time, though semi-AFK. You having a better week than the rest of us? It's okay. I've had a pretty bad week for pain, which is frustrating. And my my new ADHD meds aren't as effective as a slightly lower dose would be, but unfortunately it's the specific dose I have rather than a mixture that I can manually change myself, so I have to do a month on these and then go back to the lower dose that I respond better to, so gonna just have to deal with it. Hello Januzaj, hello Phil, how you guys doing? Hello Ish, how are you doing? How's things? Yes, wonderful. If I which one is it? Chat box. Let's try now. Hello, Stefano. How you doing? How's things? Finished rebuilding the PC, had to buy a new case because water cooling loop wasn't brilliant with a bigger GPU. Nice! Nice one. And yeah, it's not you, Michael, it's Streamlabs OBS, hence why I've reset it, and hopefully it will stop freaking out. Hopefully. Yeah. Other than that, John, busy week, as always. I ordered, or I custom designed a PCB. Oh no, it's still going. Wonderful. Although I'm kind of confused why it's only seemingly repeating anything with an at. I'm gonna hide the chat box and oh no, that didn't fix it. What about now? Different chat box? No. Also, it's still showing comments from YouTube before my YouTube window is, which is fantastic. Oh no, it's just doubling up on everything. Wonderful. No, same as always. Haven't changed anything. I never do because I never remember to. But yeah. Well, we'll just reset it every couple of minutes. Gotta love technology. DPD local failed me on a collection today. How come? I was actually I told you, but I was done dirty by Hermes this week. Who the NZXT H1 that exploded, or at least the power supply that exploded. They were NZXT arranged a collection to have that power supply shipped back to their headquarters so that they could analyze it, see what went wrong, and if there's any further actions, take them. Good move. Unfortunately, when they arranged the collection, they used Hermes to do it, and I was given a day that the collection was meant to be in. So had the box all ready, and yeah, I was in all day. It got to like I think it was 4:30 p.m. and I thought this is a bit strange. Normally, the couriers have been around by now. So I checked the tracking link that they gave me, or the tracking number, and it said that collection had been attempted at 11:48 a.m. or something. Now here's the thing. 1, I've been in all day. 2, I had a DHL delivery around that time, so I was clearly in and listening for the door. And 3, I have CCTV that covers the front of my house, and I can see anyone who arrives on my street and anyone who walks down my alley to the door. Do you know what didn't show up at 11:48? The Hermes driver. So, yeah, I passed on that footage to NZXT, who were very grateful and have had a collection actually happen, which is nice. And so that's finally off on its way, but yeah, not fantastic. Hermes is also known as the knocker door run. Yes, I once had a knock at the door. It must have been like 8:30 p.m. on a Friday or something like that. And when I opened the door, there was a box just on the doorstep. I initially looked at the box, which it was torn open. I think had stuff missing, although I don't know, and was addressed to a different town. Not even like a different street, like a different town. And best, the Hermes driver was legging it away from my door. Like, he was 100 meters away, and I just screamed at him to come back, and he like really slowly waddled back, and I said, 1, what? And 2, this isn't this town. Go. So yes, I agree. To be fair, Yodel are much worse, but you know, at least with Yodel, it'll end up in 1,000 pieces in the box on your roof, but it will arrive at the property. Actually, no, that's a lie. It probably wouldn't either. Yeah, if you're ever shipping stuff, don't use Hermes or Yodel. Collecting 3 parcels for my ex, and they turned up, took a photo of the door, and said sorry you weren't in, despite everyone being in and waiting for the collection. That's annoying. I've never had that with DPD. That's a shame. This is why I have CCTV on both entrances to my house. Since then, I've had no failed deliveries. Fancy that. Funny that. Yeah. Magic. Hello, Luca. How you doing? Will there be workarounds to get updates in Windows 11 if Microsoft doesn't support the CPU? So my understanding is that it's not that they don't support the CPU. It's not that they won't let you install Windows 11. My understanding, anyway, is that they will, what you call it? Come on, brain. It will just run slower and won't necessarily support all of the features that Windows 11 should support, essentially. And so you may end up with a less than ideal usage experience with Windows 11. But my understanding, and I would kind of doubt that this is the case, that they won't let them. It's not that they won't let you, install it. It's just that you may have a less than ideal experience with it. Also, this chat box is driving me mad, man. Are there any properties that I can change? Because I don't think so. I'll try that. There we go. Yes, if I get wind an online retailer uses Hermes, I won't order. Actually, same. That's like a really big, I suppose, red flag, if you like, for me. If a retailer uses Yodel or Hermes, then that's not someone who I would want to purchase from. Is there any way to transfer PlayStation games to a PC? Unless the individual developer provides that as an option or a service, generally speaking, no, because the with Microsoft, they can offer that service through Xbox and through Game Pass, but also through the Windows ecosystem, because they control both of them, right? So if you buy a game with your Microsoft account, it's in their best interest to let you play that game wherever you like, right? Whereas with Sony, they don't own your operating system. They don't have any way of collecting additional revenues from you purchasing a game you bought on PlayStation on PC. And so, generally speaking, the answer is no, with the exception of it may be the case that some, what you call them, distributors, whatever, the publishers, that's the one. Someone like EA, for example, may, and I'm not saying they do, but they may allow you to transfer ownership or even link ownership to an EA account, for example, and therefore have that game be available on PC as well. But generally speaking, the answer is no. Also, this chat box is driving me mad. But I don't think that there's much I can do about it, I'm afraid. Yeah, I don't think so. I hate how EA Play on Windows Store for Xbox Game Pass has less games than the PC one. Really? That's... not ideal. Worst situation for me was FedEx failed delivery 3 times despite staying home. Then they paid a third party company to deliver it to me in the office. How nice of them. Parcel Force are awful. Servers are bent in half. My experience with Parcel Force hasn't been overly bad. It's just they always come like first thing in the morning when I'm very much still asleep. Which is less than ideal for me as an end user, but I can't say that I've had anything lost with them. Hello, Budget Bench. Also, sorry. Hello. How you doing? How's things? I'm talking about Microsoft said last week that CPU is not supported on Windows 11. Will not get updates or security updates if you install Windows 11. Will there be workarounds? So I would be surprised if that is the case. If it is, then while there may be workarounds, like I said, you really don't need Windows 11. They are intending on supporting Windows 10 for a number more years, enough that you would then, be able to upgrade your CPU, to one that is supported. But the long and short is, I personally wouldn't be that bothered by it. I just wouldn't upgrade to Windows 11 if I have a CPU that's not supported directly. But yeah, but I would be surprised to hear that they wouldn't even provide security updates to systems without the correct supported CPUs. I would be surprised. Like, generally speaking, Microsoft is the sort of company that kind of lets the end users do anything, and then if something that Microsoft does breaks their experience, then they can just turn around and say, well, you were using unsupported hardware, bye, rather than just out and out not letting you in the first place. So yeah. So TechteamGB logistics company when? Please. It would be nice to, because it would be nice to just, like, I interact with a lot of delivery drivers, and so I have a cursory understanding of what it's like to sort of not necessarily be a delivery driver, but the world and the problems in which they face, and the number of times that I have had delivery drivers who say, like, hand over a parcel and they go, by the way, last time I'll see you, I'm quitting this is dreadful. Very high. That, or generally just saying, it, like, they're too busy, they're underpaid, they're overworked, like, it's hell. Being able to fix that problem would be quite nice. The difficulty is in costs. There's a reason why it only costs £6 to ship a multi-kilogram parcel with DHL. Is because, well, they don't really pay the driver all that much who picks it up, and then they don't really pay the lorry driver who takes all of the stuff from that sorting depot, which all of the people who work in that sorting depot don't really get paid all that much. It adds up to the point where, in the grand scheme of things, it's quite difficult to offer a actually good service while paying employees well, while charging as little as they do. Although, don't get me wrong, the profit margins, especially for the publicly traded companies, are kind of insane. Like, that's a problem. But to be competitive in the market, you basically end up needing to adopt the solutions that they have, and then you're just back to you're just another company in that's part of the problem rather than solving it. I have a sneaking suspicion that the chat will not work today. I've enabled it, but I think it's gonna pick the first message that comes in and then repeat it constantly, and maybe occasionally throw in some Twitch chat. Like that. I reckon it's gonna say that message about 14 times. Hello, Yana Loser. How you doing, man? How's things? How's your week been? I worked for a parcel delivery company for almost 8 years. 6 years ago, surprised any packages actually get delivered, considering the wages and conditions. I like I said, I very much believe you there, and I'm incredibly impressed. Driver pay has a massive impact on quality of service. Better treatment of drivers shows better focus all chain through. That's also very true. And you know, from an immediate level, come on, that's wonderful. I'm gonna just turn it off for today. Anyway, yeah, the driver, like higher driver pay from just a customer level means that you're potentially less likely to have them submitting, 600 or like delivering 600 parcels in a given day, and they're more likely to be, more caring and with the parcels, but also with, knocking and waiting more than 3 seconds for you to get to the door, and a whole host of other things. Also, hello Harry, how you doing, man? How's things? How am I? I am okay. Yeah, I'm fine. Yes, I'm fine. That's all right. And your week, not so great. Wonderful. Well, I hope that it eases. Hope that tomorrow's easier, and next week. Yeah. Andy, is there anything that I can control scenes with Streamlabs that isn't a keyboard controller or mouse? What I mean by this is a shortcut buttons like to switch between scenes. Yes, it's called a Stream Deck or a Loop Deck if you want to be fancy and last time I looked less good. But I have them technically set up, although I don't really switch scenes on this, so you will never know. But yeah, you can use Stream Deck to switch scenes. I have mine start and stop the stream. I technically have it show my Twitch and YouTube viewer count, but they're not working. I have it control my ring light that you can always see in my eyes. I have it show my CPU utilization because that's interesting. I also use this for editing, for little things like every time I tweet a new video, instead of me having to, type everything out, I just have a button on the Stream Deck that I press that prints out everything that I would normally put in a tweet, or at very least, the new video and emojis and the arrows to find the link, and a smattering of other things as well. The Stream Deck is also the thing that tweets for me every time I start streaming. If you see those tweets, that is a tweet that I pre-wrote in the Stream Deck software, and when I press the multi-action for start stream, it if it hasn't already, launches Streamlabs OBS. It tweets saying that I'm going live. It puts a comment in, or it used to put a comment in YouTube and Twitch chats, and it starts the stream. So pretty handy. I'm doing some experimental testing. I paid £5 for the delivery of today's failed collection to be before noon tomorrow. Will be interesting to see how they handle that one. They'll just blame you or the collector, or the collectee, I suppose, for not being in. Because I'm fairly certain that the guaranteed before noon type thing is has a little asterisk that says assuming we can collect the thing. Yeah. Have you heard / seen new electric A8 concept from Audi? I saw the Carwow thumbnail, but I haven't seen anything about it. What's the synopsis? That's the word. Hello, Cat and White. How you doing, man? Nice things. Does XMP is it XMP that makes the RAM run at its overclocked speed that it comes with? Can that make the CPU run more hot? It says my CPU memory max speed is 2400 and my RAM is running 36. Right. So your memory speeds when you increase your memory speed, you increase the frequency that the memory controller has to run at as well, because they both have to run at the same speed to transfer that data back and forth. And the memory controller is a bit of silicon that's since a very long time ago is on your CPU. It's built into the processor, and so that is a little bit of silicon that uses some amount of power and some generates some amount of heat. When you run it at an overclocked setting or just higher, it does use more power and therefore produces more heat in doing so. And so hypothetically, yes, it can cause higher temperatures. In general terms, because it is a separate part of the CPU that's potentially generating heat, and in the grand scheme of things, it's a relatively small amount of heat compared to the cores. But in theory, the worst case scenario is that extra heat, when it hits the IHS, is then obviously distributed evenly, but also is then even more heat that your CPU cooler has to deal with, right? The flip side is that, like I said, it's a relatively small amount of heat compared to the heat that your cores produce, and so it's really not that big a deal. The other point you had about your CPU lists a maximum speed of 2400, but you're running 3000, that is technically considered out of spec, and you have voided your CPU's warranty, but really, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a big deal. Intel generally lists a relatively low memory frequency, especially in that time period, where they basically only really validate it up to that point, because that's all the system integrators like Dell or HP or whoever else would bother putting in their systems, and so they only really need to actually validate it to that point, and us enthusiasts can go and test out our extra memory. But again, much like what I was saying about Windows, if you go and buy a set of 3000 MHz kit RAM and it doesn't work, it's not stable, whatever, Intel can turn around and say, well, we didn't validate that, so you're on your own. And so, again, it's not really a big deal. I wouldn't worry about it. And in terms of the heat output from the controller, again, wouldn't really worry about it. Hello, Joe. How you doing, man? How's things? I would have a chat on the screen, but it broke today. So hopefully it's fixed next week. I could try adding a new one, actually. Just because, why not, right? Hold on, let me open the properties for this one, though. And I think it's that one. And where's chat? Chat box. Yes. New source. Yes. That one? That one. I can't remember how tall I had it before. Where's the other one? Doesn't actually tell me how wide it is. That's fantastic. I must have missed something. Oh, hello. That's big. Ah, I'm gonna make that smaller now. What should be 1920 tall, right? And I've made it so small that I can't see it. Can I move it up the hierarchies? I can, yay, right. Okay, it should not be 1920 tall. That's... Okay, I did it wrong. What about that? And then scale it. Okay, it's not quite right, but it's close enough. Now we need some comments to actually come through into it. Does my CPU get hot because it's running at 4 gigahertz all the time? So if it's not boosting effectively, like when your system is idle, it should be lower. It should lower its own frequency. So if it's not doing that, then that generally means that you've set a manual overclock, and that would be not necessarily less than ideal, but would cause excess power consumption, and therefore excess heat. Okay, that's not right either. I mean, it showed the it showed a message. The real question is, will it show the message 600 times? I'll fix the size in a second. I'm just gonna leave it to let some messages come in and see if it's fixed or not. Currently looks okay. Doing good so far. Have we fixed it, boys? Possibly. It's not repeated any, and I'm pretty sure that it would have repeated at least one of these 3 messages now. Seems okay. It's pulling from both Twitch and from YouTube, so that's good. Joe, not too bad, thank you. Made some big decisions this week with regards to hanging up boots on Gadget Joe. Fair play. What decisions have you come to? We were speaking about it last week that you were planning on swapping to a new channel for your sort of content from your workshop, but still keeping Gadget Joe, God, alive for reviews. I'm gonna change the size. All right. I hope I don't break it. But I think every time I change this size, it you know, breaks. So we'll see. I reckon that maybe that's a bit better, isn't it? Yeah, there we go. Oh, that's close enough. I could probably make it a little bit wider, but there you go. Yeah, that'll do, won't it? Yeah, all right. Leave it for now. Hello, Chris. How you doing, man? You missed the antics of the chat box not working for the first 34 minutes. a famous leather jacket guy said the GP shortage is going to stop in 2023. I'd be you know, hesitant to believe him, perhaps, just because the enormity of semiconductor supply is difficult, and production ramp up time is pretty significant. But yeah, I'm fairly happy in saying that as long as the mining craze stays reasonably quiet, we should be in good contention for a more standard market sooner than that. I'm going to keep it going as a review source eventually, maybe change it into a written review site focusing on the new channel, and Ish, I'll be doing a farewell video. Yeah, nice. Andy, you are a tech expert after all. Well done. Thanks. What did I do to do it? I suppose I turned it off and turned it back on again, didn't I? There you go. Tech legend. Oh dear. Went to see Free Guy last night, the new Ryan Reynolds film. Good film, enjoyed it. One of the ads before, if you're not from Britain, then you might not get this, but the Compare the Market, which is an insurance comparison site, use effectively digital meerkats to advertise their site. Compare the meerkat.com. And the ad that played was the nerdy one in the glasses and the white shirt. There was an entire room full of like security professionals, where the big screen was showing that they were being hacked and everything was going wrong, and the little meerkat walks in and turns it off and turns it back on again, and then says works every time. So yeah, he's a tech support lad too. Just had a Compare the Market ad on TV. Nice, what a weird coincidence. A very good friend of mine has gifted a Panasonic GH5. Nice, that's my camera. Will allow me to do some real high quality 4K videos of a fat man in his workshop making things. Nice, good job. If you're willing to spend money, the Metabone Speed Booster, the 0.64 one is the one I use, so that I use Canon EF lenses, and very good, good. Also, if you need to disassemble that GH5 to replace any of the parts, I know how to now through pain. When I try to put a curve on my fan speed, sometimes my BIOS freezes and is not working good. It's the BIOS that came with my PC. Doesn't mean I need to upgrade. So it's probably a good idea to upgrade, as you will get a number of security, stability, and potentially feature updates with those BIOS upgrades. And it may also fix some bugs, like if your BIOS is freezing when setting a fan curve. That's kind of a big problem. So yes, it might be a good idea. Generally speaking, the process to upgrade the BIOS is fairly simple. Use a USB stick, plug it into your PC, and download the latest BIOS file from your for your motherboard from the manufacturer's website for that board. You can run, if you press the start menu and type DXDIAG and then press enter, and then press yes or no, doesn't really matter. It will tell you what your motherboard name is, and you can use that to search that name, go to the support page and download the most recent BIOS update, and then put that file, normally unzip it and put it on the USB stick in the root directory, reboot, and press delete a load of times to get into your BIOS, and then there's normally a flashing utility easy flash, instant flash, something along those lines, that will let you normally, with just by selecting the file and pressing start, update your BIOS. Just make sure that the power doesn't go out at all when you're doing that, otherwise your motherboard is bricked. How is the Gigabyte M27Q able to run 170 Hz on DisplayPort 1.2? Does it? Or is it DisplayPort 1.3 or 1.4? Also, what's DisplayPort 1.2's max refresh rate at 1440p? There we go, 140 Hz. Right. So my assumption would be if it's running 170 Hz, then that is with lower color depth. If it is 1.2. That's the one. It is 1.2. Oh. Then that. Also, I forgot. Display stream compression is also another trick for that, which can use DisplayPort 1.2 to allow you to run even 4K 140 Hz as well. So yeah. I upgraded a Barson H67 board. It had to be in Windows and it crashed. No. No. Oh dear. Can I make an image of Windows with my programs on it and put it on a drive that has my stuff on it without formatting it? So probably, yeah. Depends on what sort of what do you call it? Come on, brain. Brain's gone blank. Depends what sort of image you want. If you want a like bootable, restorable image, then you can either use Windows' own backup tool, or there are a number of other programs that you can use that are either free or relatively low cost that would let you create a full image and just saves the image to wherever you want. Do you still recommend the M27Q? Yes, it's a great monitor. It is a well-performing and pretty reasonable quality. It has a remarkably fast panel. It offers a really good price to performance sort of ratio, essentially. You get impressive colors and color accuracy, as well as, like I said, an impressively fast panel. So, yes, I do. I hate YouTube's relatively new resolution menu on mobile. Yes, abstraction is frustrating. I like Macrium Reflect. Nice. Is it free, paid? What's the deal with it? Is this the magical TechteamGB guru guy? Obviously, naturally. How you doing, man? How's things? Did I miss anything? Have I tried Biodynamic DT 770 Pros? I haven't, although Essentialist recommends that you get the K612 Pros instead if you have, if you're in a noisy environment. Otherwise, the open back of the 770s are good. I'm alright, and you? Okay, I've had a lot of pain this week, and specifically it's pain that feels. How do I describe this without describing the entire condition? more serious than others. Effectively, with the condition I was told I have, although I'm not 100% certain on that, there's kind of two types. There's the everyday kind of they come and go type pains, and there are the come and stay pains. And I currently feel like my hands are degrading essentially, which is less than ideal because I use these quite a lot for a lot of things. I'd like to maintain their ability to move. I heard if I update my BIOS to BIOS version 16, for example, I need to update and use all of the new versions one by one. So generally speaking, no. On the motherboard manufacturer's website, they do often list notes, and for some motherboards or some say chipsets or whatever, especially the newer Ryzen ones that support just a smorgasbord of different chips, in that case you do often have to upgrade to a specific version, and then you can upgrade to a newer version than that, or to the newest version. There's a sort of entry point version that you need to have upgraded to first before then upgrading to whatever the latest is. But it's very, very rare, if ever. In fact, I've never personally had to do that, where I have had to upgrade through every single version one at a time. Like I said, the worst that I've ever had to do is upgrade an especially old version to one that is, halfway newer, and then once it's upgraded to that version, you can then upgrade to whatever the newest version is. I've never had to upgrade, to one version and then to another, to then be able to upgrade to the newest one. It's normally only ever, one step between where you are and newest, like in between that, if ever. Both my feet are all the cartilage is damaged, so yeah, pain. Hope your hands feel better soon. I hope so too, and I hope your cartilage heals. But yeah, we'll see. I use it too. Great bit of free software. Nice. That's sweet. It's free for no professional use, and that works for me. Is the GH5 the camera you use then? It is. What are your thoughts on it? The IBIS looks good, 4K 60, etc. It arrived in a couple of weeks, so keen to get it. What was the lens adapter you mentioned? Yes, I use it. I do use the stabilization, the sensor stabilization, although it's not bulletproof essentially. I shake a hell of a lot, and so even on tripods it can still be shaky, and I still have to stabilize footage after the fact. But it's a really good camera. It's served me very well, and I have no intention of replacing it anytime soon. I might add a new camera at some point, especially for certain types of content where it would be nice to have a second, big 4K camera rather than my point and shoot, which does do 4K, but it's limited to 5 minutes of 4K recording, which can be frustrating. So I will eventually buy another one, especially one that has good autofocus. That would be nice. That's the one thing that the GH5 just doesn't really do well. But yeah. And what was your other question? What was the lens adapter? So it is a Metabones speed booster, specifically the 0.64 times magnification version. You can buy a a Metabone speed booster that doesn't have a lens element in it. It is just a straight converter from Micro Four Thirds, which is what the GH5 uses, to a number of different lens adapters. Specifically, the one I use is the Canon EF mount. But yeah, that's the adapter I use, specifically with the 0.64 times magnification one. What that does is concentrate all of the light that is coming from your Canon EF lens, which has a bigger hole, down into the size of the Micro Four Thirds one at a 0.64 magnification rate. Long story short, it turns a Canon f2.8 lens into a Micro Four Thirds f1.8 lens, which is fantastic and really really useful. The lens that I use is ironically, it's actually really cheap. It's a Tamron 17-50 f2.8. But yeah, that's that. I actually haven't ever updated the firmware on my GH5. I've just never had the time or the moment to, but I really should, because there are a few bugs. Like if you take the battery out to swap the batteries, but you've also taken the SD card out, sometimes, and only sometimes, when you put the battery and the SD card in, when you flick the power switch, it doesn't turn on, and the solution is to take the SD card out, unplug the battery, wait a second, put the battery back in, turn the camera on, it will turn on, then put the SD card in. It's really dumb, shouldn't need to do it, but I do. And so yeah, that would be nice to have fixed, if that even is fixed in your firmware versions. But yeah, that's that. Sony has the best. Sony, in my experience, is the best autofocus. I've heard very good things about both Sony and Canon systems. Canon, generally speaking, has the dual pixel autofocus, and has kind of been the industry standard for autofocus for a bit. But Sony's basically, ever since they started doing mirrorless, I've been hearing more and more good things about Sony's autofocus. So yeah, taking notes, nice. Yeah, you can use Micro Four Thirds lenses. That's perfectly fine. It's just I already had some Canon lenses, and so I figured that it would be better to build a collection of what are generally cheaper and more accessible Canon EF lenses, and then just adapt them to work on whatever camera I fancy using, rather than the other way around. And so that's why I use the speed booster, and it's worked out pretty well for me. So at least it's not Nikon. Oh yeah. Invest in some extra batteries, or is it generally okay? I think I have 5 batteries for mine. You can so the brand that I recommend the most is, I think it's like Numoa. They're like 20 or something pounds for 2 on Amazon. They are literally the exact same cell, but with a different sticker on them. And so they have, I have 4 of those, and I have the original battery that came with the body, and I just rotate them out, and I've had that camera for 3 or 4 years, I think now, and it has not failed me once. Yeah. If you're on the Discord or whatever, or Twitter or whatever else, if you have any questions, including what those the specific batteries, if you want to verify them, then feel free to ping me whatever link you're currently looking at, and I can verify that those are the ones I actually have. OEM batteries are the biggest ripoff. They are. The only trouble is that the aftermarket batteries are also a bit of a sort of crapshoot because I for the for my RX 100 I bought a set of batteries. I think it was like a pack of two. Came with a little charger, and they tested them out before I went on the Berlin trip to IFA 2019. So I had the standard Sony battery in this as as I was going, but then I put my replacement, my third party batteries in, and it booted up fine. It would take pictures just fine, but when I went to do the 4K recording that I brought it for, it would do a few seconds and then would freeze, and then would lock up completely, and I'd have to actually take the battery out to get the camera to turn off, and then it would boot up just fine again. It would say that I had full battery, but it didn't have the current discharge capacity to deal with this camera running 4K recording. So I've since bought a new set of actually new MOA batteries. I think it was a pack of 3, still disgustingly cheap, and they have worked flawlessly. So yeah, my general experience so far is that the new MOA, I think it is, brand have treated me well in the multiple cameras I've tested them with. So there you go. There's my my handy consumer advice for buying camera batteries. Yeah. Oh, does anyone have any last minute tech questions before we head off? Battery TechteamGB. There you go. I feel like batteries are included in tech. I feel like it comes under the umbrella. Use county battery for batteries, including rebuilding batteries for drills. Nice. Sweet. Handy Andy battery tips. Nice. I don't know. Not tech related, but what's coming up on At the Wheel and TechteamGB soon? At the Wheel, I have no idea. To be decided. To be confirmed. Tomorrow, I'm actually very excited for you to see the NZXT H1 review. That's coming up, so make sure you got those notification bells on. Monday is a video that I actually haven't finished editing yet, and that is how well does a viewer-provided 750 Ti handle in 2021? Thanks, Phil. So yeah, that's that. And then Wednesday is going to be a slightly earlier video because it's a product launch, and it's a product launch that I'm under NDA for, so I cannot tell you what it is, but you'll find out. What do you use for editing? Premiere. I assume you mean software. Premiere and After Effects, although After Effects is refusing to do text track or camera tracking for me recently, which is incredibly frustrating. So I'm dealing with that. Yeah. The trouble with the Adobe apps is every time you update version to fix one problem, it introduces about 15 more, and it balances. It balances itself out with just new and interesting headaches, rather than the same one. But a lot of the time the problems don't really have workarounds, or you can't just solve it, so you have to update. So then you have to then relearn what the workarounds and whatever are for the bugs that are in that version. So yeah, can be frustrating, but it's also an incredibly powerful tool, and I really do like Adobe Media Encoder. The watch folders feature is just something that I cannot find anywhere else. For how I want to use it. So, yeah. I have an annoyance. Microsoft app sliders don't move the my mouse wheel anymore. I've had that with like random things like Excel stops scrolling with my mouse wheel randomly sometimes. Um, so my only suggestion is turn it off, turn it back on again if you haven't already. But yeah. My boss says it's from 2016. Is it old? Yes, that is quite old. Although bear in mind that your CPU is also kind of that old. I would expect that the newest BIOS version for that board would probably be 2018, give or take. But yeah, you should upgrade it, especially if you have bugs and issues with the with your BIOS. Yeah. Want to borrow my Combo Life Elite review? It's only completely different from what you're used to. uh, um, that does sound like something very different, and also probably kind of interesting. I don't know. Anyway, that's our usual hour. Thank you very much for watching. As always, you know, videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Subscribe if you haven't already, although I'd be kind of surprised if you're here and you haven't. Links in the description to, you know, support my idiocy. And yeah, have a good week. Stay safe, and we'll catch you tomorrow for the H1 review. It'll be fun. You'll like it, I hope. See you guys.